5 C's that lenders look at. And we're going to basically decode these 5 C's. As a matter of fact, every time you've ever been denied for financing, you're about to realize why you were denied. And we're going to get to that answer by diving into the 5 things that lenders really look at. All of them begin with a C. And if you understand these 5 components, you're going to understand why lenders are looking at things they're asking you for, what they're actually looking for. You're going to realize why you've been denied before. More than likely, you're not strong in one or multiple of these 5 areas. But most importantly, you're going to get in a lender's head today. You're going to learn what they don't want you to know, and you're going to basically uncover these 5 things that they mainly look at and what you need to do to improve these 5 things so you just stop getting denied and actually have lenders pursue you, lenders chase you with pre-screened offers. And that's what I want for you and your business. I don't want you to have to go out there trying to get money. What I want is you to have an overwhelming amount of direct mail, of emails, of text, and phone numbers of lenders that have already pre-qualified you, pre-approved you, and they just want to give you money. All you need to do is accept it. That's a pretty cool world, right? Okay, but in order to get you there, you have to get in a lender's head. We have to discover the things they don't want us to know, what they're really looking for, like their secret formula. And once we figure that out, well, then we're solid. Then we can meet their criteria, and then we can exceed their criteria, and then they start chasing us. We stop chasing them. So by the way, Mike South is in the house from Lodo Ice Cream Boat. Thanks for coming in from St. Louis, Mike. It's always good to see you. Thanks for coming in and saying hello. By the way, give me your company name here in the live stream. I'm going to give you a shout out. So let's talk about it. Here's the secret formula to getting funny. Here's the 5 C's that of credit and the 5 C's that lenders look at. Number 1 is called character. And character has to do with basically your overall trustworthiness. Now, this applies to you and your business. So let's dive into a few things here. Personal credit. Does your personal credit report reflect that you're trustworthy? Does your business credit report reflect that your business is trustworthy, right? The number 1 concern a lender always has is your ability to repay that debt. Your likelihood to repay the money that they actually give you, the payments that they pay that you're supposed to pay. So they're going to look at your character. Like, what is your past history? Is your past history as an individual on your personal credit report show that you're paying your bills as you're supposed to? If not, what are you defaulting on? How long ago did you default? Are these defaults recent? Are they a major bank transactions, or is it a medical collection, right? All these things really cater to their concern of our trustworthiness as an individual and our ability to repay. The next thing we look at is business credit. Same thing, right? Does our business have a credit history? Is our business credit history reflecting that we're paying our bills? Does our business credit history reflect that we have shown that we can manage the kind of debt they're giving us? If the highest credit limit on my business credit report is $100, does it mean that they trust me enough to give me $50K, for example, right? So the other things about this is we're looking at the credibility of the business. I talk about this all the time, the fundability of the business, right? The lendability, the bankability. It's called a lot of different things, but it really comes down to having the right entity type, an LLC or a corporation, and having an EIN, and having a business address, not a home address or a PO box or UPS address, having an actual business phone, not a mobile phone or a home phone, having a merchant account, having a business license, having a business bank account, having a professional website, email address that reflects your domain. Okay, these are signs of just credibility, of general reputation, and having a good reputation for you as an individual and your business. So number 1 of these 5 is character. How is your personal credit? Does it reflect you pay your bills? How is your business credit? Does it reflect you pay your bills? Is your business structured where it's separate from you and set up the right way, where it looks legitimate and credible? If you've done these things, well, then you actually get past that first C, which is the character aspect that lenders are looking at. And that brings me to number 2. And this is probably one of the most important of these 5 C's we're looking at. Number 2 is capacity, your ability to repay. And the ability to repay is typically looking at like the money that you've got coming in and out of the business, right? We're looking at tax returns to show, do they have a profit? We're looking at bank statements to reflect, do you manage the bank account responsibly? Do you have a positive ending bank balance at the end of each month, for example? We're looking at everything to do with your debt to income ratios. We're looking at utilization. Are you overutilized? Are all your personal or business credit cards maxed out? That's a really bad sign. It means one of the biggest indicators you're in trouble is when you've maxed out all that revolving credit that you're being given. So these things affect your capacity. Now, the business credit reporting agencies have scores that reflect this. The likelihood that your business will completely fail, or likelihood that your business will stop paying its bills within 90 days. And what it's looking at for that is financials. It's also looking at your Secretary of State data. How many employees do you have? A bigger business from the bureau standpoint, from a lender standpoint, is more stable. So the more employees you have, the better it is, the less likely it is that you're going to default. So these are the kind of things that lenders are looking at to determine the capacity, your ability to repay. Now, keep in mind, a lot of fintech lending nowadays focuses on one strength, not everything. They might not look at your personal taxes, your business taxes, your personal bank statements, your business bank statements. SBA lenders will, but other lenders might not look at any of this. What they're really looking at is just your overall capacity. Like they're based on the asset that they're looking at. So if I'm looking at the account receivables of your business and I'm going to give you account receivable financing, well, then I'm letting people, my customers, pay me on terms. So what the lender really cares about then is they care about that borrower or that person that's paying you, their ability to repay you. They're going to pull business credit reports on your customers and make sure your customers' credit reports are good and that they have a high likelihood of repaying you. Or the lender isn't going to want to finance that AR, right? So in that case, they don't even look at your credit. They don't even care about anything because they care about your customer's ability to repay you. Let's talk about cryptocurrency financing, right? Well, in this, all they're really looking at is that crypto's ability to keep its value or gain value. And if they feel confident they can lend you money against that asset and that asset's going to stay stable or increase in value, well, that and that alone is enough for them to give you money. So remember, fintech lending looks at a lot of individual strengths. And in this case, they're not looking at everything to determine your capacity. They're just looking at whatever it is that they're making their bet on. So if it's revenue lending, well, they're looking at the stability of your revenue based on bank statements. They want to see the last few months, how stable is your business, right? So again, with fintech, they're looking at capacity differently. They're looking at it as one different aspect they're willing to lend on. But for SBA loans, they might be looking at all: personal tax returns, business tax returns, personal bank statements, business bank statements. Why the heck are they asking me for all this stuff? If you know. It's capacity. It shows your ability to repay. If you have a bank statement that's overdrawn, negative balance, if your personal credit's bad, if you've got tax returns on the business side that show a loss, these are not good signs that a business has the capacity to take on another loan. So capacity is a very important component because remember, lenders' number one concern is your ability to repay them. So if you don't have and reflect that you have the capacity to repay them, it's almost immediate decline in almost any different scenario. Okay, and by the way, Agil's in the house. Hey, Coach, coming in from Don Cleaner LLC from Providence, Rhode Island in the building. Stay cool. Appreciate it very much. And we are going to stay cool thanks to your help. So thanks for everything you're doing up there for us in Rhode Island. Okay, so here's the third C of this 5C formula. And it basically has to do with what's called capital. Now, capital is basically has to do with like your personal financial situation. How much money have you maybe put into the business? What is your personal net worth? What kind of assets do you have personal asset wise? What investments do you have? What are your own personal strengths or your financial strengths, right? So what they're looking for here is like capital. How do you manage cash flow? How do you have access to capital? How much money is in your bank accounts right now, right? They don't want to lend you money and give you $500,000 if you're down to your last $5,000 in your bank account. So they want to see capital. How do you manage capital? How is your personal finances? What is your net worth? What kind of personal assets do you have? This is why they'll oftentimes ask for an SBA loan for a PFS, a personal financial statement. So what they're looking for is like, are you strong on the personal side? If you're out there trying to get an SBA loan for $500,000 and you're broke on the personal side, well, then they're pretty concerned you're going to take those funds for the business and move it over to save yourself personally, right? So bottom line is lenders do not want to lend to people that are in trouble. And when they're looking at this capital aspect, this third C, they're just really looking at kind of what is your liquidity, right? What is the business's liquidity? What is your liquidity? Like when you are desperate trying to get money, and there's this adage out there that people say that, hey, it's hard to get money when you need it the most. Yeah, because lenders don't want to lend to desperate people. Why? Now you know, right? C3, capital. Because you don't show that you are stable enough that if they give you money, you might be a sinking ship. And when they see financially on the business or personal side that that's the case, well, then you don't do well here. And then you violate this C, and then you typically aren't going to get the money that you actually need to grow your business. So let's recap really quick. So C number one is character, right? How legitimate, credible are you in your business? C number two is capacity. What capacity do you have to repay the debt? Capital number 3, or C number 3, is capital. Capital, we're looking at your liquidity, the business's liquidity. How much cash do you have on hand? How much cash does the business have on hand? What kind of limits do you have on your credit? What is your financials on the personal side, personal financial statement? How much money do you have in your bank accounts, for example? How much you have invested in stocks, bonds? How much money have you put into the business? Like basically the capacity or the capital of the business. Now that brings me to C number 4, and this is collateral. And collateral is probably one of the number 1 things that lenders want to see, because what they want to see is if you do default, if they're wrong and they guessed wrong and lent you money and they shouldn't have, what can they take back to get part of their loss back? If I gave you $100,000 and you pledged equipment as collateral and it was worth 70, not as bad, right? I could sell the equipment, make my 70, pay off 100 of what you defaulted on. Hopefully you paid some down on that 100 before you defaulted. Maybe now I'm only out 20K instead of 100K. So lenders are way more likely to lend you money if you have some kind of asset that can be pledged as collateral. As a matter of fact, SBA loans, it's required. They're going to take all of your assets as collateral equal to the loan amount that you're borrowing or greater, okay? But other lenders will use just one piece of collateral, one asset, and lend you money just on that. What could work as collateral? Jeez, man, it's a long list. Stocks, bonds, 401ks, IRAs, equipment, inventory can work. Cryptocurrency could work. Vehicles, real estate, customer lists could work. Commodities can actually work. Gold, silver, CDs that you have in bank accounts could actually be pledged as collateral. IP, trademarks, business licenses. Maybe you're a professional with a professional license. You could actually use your professional license to qualify for financing. You could use a license like a liquor license to actually qualify for funding as well. So again, what assets do you have that could be served up as collateral? If you collateralize the loan, you're way more likely to get the loan and get better terms. And if you have an asset, you can typically get money just based on that asset with not even qualifying for any other kind of funding. So what are assets that you have that they could actually take back? It makes the lending way less risky and makes you way more inclined to get approved. And that brings me to C number 5 of the secret formula that lenders use to determine if you're like worthy of giving financing to. And that C number 5 is conditions. What's happening right now in the market, right? Like what is happening in the world? So it's really interesting because I met somebody last night and we were talking about what she did. And she's like, well, I write proposals for basically like for these, works for a healthcare agency. And then she writes proposals for these companies to basically get like these big contracts with the larger companies. And so it's interesting because she's explaining what she did. And I was sitting there listening to her and I'm like, wow, your job is not going to exist in 2 years. It'll be 100% done by ChatGPT. Now, I did not tell her that, but that is the truth. AI will remove her position within 2 years. Like what she's describing, she goes through and does all this research and writes this proposal. I was like, yeah, AI is going to replace that. I was with another buddy last night, and he was talking about doing insurance, and he writes up insurance claims. When people have insurance claims, he goes and does the investigation, writes a report. And he said, look, AI is cutting 85% of this job out. Like 85% of it is now done using AI. Well, he thinks he's kind of gaming the system because he's using AI to do it. Little does he know in 2 years that they already know that. The company he works for already knows that. They're going to be having AI do all of that work. Right? It'll be 100% of the work done by AI, not by him, trying to use AI to do the work. So what is going to be replaced? AI is changing a lot of things right now. So if you are in a content position where you're creating content, man, if that's your company, it's going to be tougher to get money because the market conditions have changed. AI is already on the verge of replacing that, right? You know, AI is going to be replacing these soon, right? So if you look at all the advancements of what's happening with voice, what's going down is we're going to not have keyboards. We're going to stop typing, right? We're going to start using voice to do almost everything. Because if you look at the rate of somebody's ability to type something versus somebody's ability to talk and type something, it's significantly more. They can get 2, 3, 4, 5 times more production by saying it instead of actually typing it. So we're going to start to see these things go away. So if your job is to sell and create keyboards, you might have a problem getting financing. Because AI is going to ultimately take these things down. I spent a lot of time with AI, but you get the idea. The market conditions are changing. And when market conditions change and there's less and less and less of demand for what you have, well, then lenders are less inclined to be able to loan money to you. Now, here's what's interesting. You are more inclined to want to borrow money, right? You might not see the writing on the wall. You might think that there's this significant, phenomenal future ahead of creating keyboards. And you're not paying attention to the fact that AI is probably with voice is going to replace keyboards, right? So you might be seeing your sales drop, and you're desperate trying to go out there and get money, and lenders don't want to lend to you, and you don't understand why. Well, what's happening is they understand the market conditions better than you understand the market conditions. So if you're having a hard time getting money or before you apply, like, where are you? Are you on the right side of the market or the wrong side of the market, right? So there's a lot of examples of that. Like, we've really made a major shift to Credit Suite where we focus a lot on business financing now more than business credit. Why? Because we're going to be creating more and more and more technology to make it simpler and easier and way cheaper for people to build business credit. That's just the future of what's going to happen. But everybody's going to have this demand for financing. And how are we going to incorporate AI and do all these things to make it easier for somebody to get funding? You have to be thinking about where you're going, because that's the type of company lenders want to lend to. That's the kind of company investors want to lend to, is when you recognize the trends and you're building things staying ahead of the trends. But if you're behind the trends and it's not the right market conditions for a lender to want to lend to you, well, it's probably a really good reason on why you're actually not able to get approved. So let's recap this secret formula to get funding, the 5 different C's of credit. Number 1 was character. How reputable are you? How reputable are you? How is your reputation? Like, how's your consumer credit quality? How's your business credit quality? Does it reflect you pay back your creditors? Do you have your business entity and address and phone number and email and website, merchant account, all that stuff set up the right way? Do you look credible to a potential lender? It's C number 1. C number 2 is capacity, your ability to repay. This is why they're asking you for some kind of income documents, right? They're typically asking you for bank statements or tax returns or P&Ls or balance sheets or combination of all of that, depending on the loan you're looking for. What they're looking for is, what kind of capacity do you have to repay? Do you have the extra funds to repay? If you are overdrawing your bank account every month, how can you pay a loan if you can't even pay your current bills, for example? So we need to see the capacity. Number 3 is capital. Okay, what is the net worth? What's the business's net worth? What's your net worth of your business? How are your personal assets? How are your personal investments? What are the financial strengths of your business and financial strengths of you? Are you sitting on money? Do you have money now? Lenders want to lend you money when you have money. It's crazy, but they want to see that you actually have capital, that you have money, that you're spending it wisely, that you're conserving it, right? And if you don't have that and you're desperate out there trying to get money because you're broke, well, that's going to be almost impossible, because they recognize that. And that's not a situation where they want to lend you money as a result. Okay. Now, that being said, number 4, C, is collateral. And this is one of the biggest things lenders want to see. What assets do you have that they could take back if you default on the loan? What assets are you willing to pledge in case you actually default? Okay, that makes them very secure. A lot of times they'll lend you money just because you have something that could serve up as collateral, some kind of asset, stocks, bonds, 401ks, IRAs, equipment, inventory, real estate, vehicles, cryptocurrency. It might actually be IP, trademarks, business licenses, professional licenses, customer lists, commodities, gold, silver, CDs and bank accounts. If something is worth money, an asset, typically you're going to be able to pledge to be able to get some kind of collateral-based financing. And this is what they want to see. They want to see something they could take back if they're going to lend you money. Even SBA loans require this. And number 5 is, what are conditions? What are the market conditions? Are you on the right side of the market, the wrong side of the market? Are you producing content where AI is going to replace your job in 2 years? Or are you recognizing that AI is the future and you're doing things with AI to show that you're ahead of the market? Is the market conditions good or bad for what you're doing in your business? Okay, if you're on the wrong side of it, lenders don't want to lend to you. You might be the last one to know. You might be so close to your business that you're not even recognizing that what you're doing is going to be obsolete. And in that situation, it's not good. That's why lenders don't want to lend you money. See that you recognize that you're staying ahead of market conditions. So these are some things that you want to think about. So that is it. That is the recap of the 5 different C's, the secret formula to get business funding, the 5 C's of credit. If you want to know more about getting money for your business, go to creditsuite.com/get funding. And right there, like, it takes you like less than a minute to do, and you can get immediately pre-approved for funding and get all kinds of different types of money for your business. And if you got value from this training, smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe as well, and keep your eye out for our next training. We talk about more cool